The 2013 NFL Draft is considered by many as one of the worst of all time. From its lack of quarterback talent to its uneventful top 10, 2013 featured a large number of misses in the first round. But the class as a whole wasn't all bad. In fact, there are a numerous amount of stars spread across the board. Looking at receivers specifically, there was plenty to be excited about back in 2013. In just the first round, 3 dudes were selected. Tavon Austin was a college legend, DeAndre Hopkins had some of the best hands you'd ever seen, and Cordarrelle Patterson had game-breaking speed. In today's video, we will take a look at this receiver class as a whole, see how their careers turned out, and find out who's still in the league today.
And one of their #1 draft choices through the middle, and he starts things with a great run back. He can't get him, and all the way for a touchdown.
Now, really quickly, this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek takes tickets from all across the web and puts them into one area, making buying simple. They have everything from football, baseball, basketball, concerts, festivals, or more. SeatGeek rates every ticket from 0 to 10 to make sure that you're getting a good deal, with green meaning good and red meaning bad. And for first-time buyers, use code KTO at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app. Trading up from the 16th pick to number 8, the Rams decided to go get the most explosive player in the draft, Tavon Austin. Austin was seen by many as a game-breaking playmaker. Despite only standing at 5'8" and 175 pounds, his ridiculous highlight reel showed why a dude that small could garner a top 10 pick. This highlight reel, posted back in 2013, currently stands as one of the most viewed of all time. It shows off his elite shiftiness and ball carrier vision, routinely taking simple jet sweeps and screen passes and turning them into magic. A good comparison for him entering the league was Deshaun Jackson, who had made a name for himself as an explosive playmaker in the receiving and return game to that point in his pro career. After years of offensive struggles, the Rams were clearly trying to take steps to give their young quarterback Sam Bradford some help. To take it one step further, they also drafted Tavon's college teammate Stedman Bailey in the 3rd round. Bailey possessed a similar size and skill set. So, how did things go for Tavon Austin? Well, there were flashes right away.
Austin waved everybody away and picked the football up. He never called for a fair catch. Tavon Austin, touchdown.
As a rookie, Tavon had an exceptional performance against the Colts, where he scored nearly every time he touched the ball, with 2 catches for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he took a punt return to the house. This was the Tavon Austin that most fans expected to see. But those type of moments were few and far between. Overall, Tavon played in 13 games as a rookie and only started 3 at receiver, finishing with an underwhelming 40 catches for 418 yards. This ranked him 16th among all rookies in receiving yards. The following year was even less productive offensively, but he had developed into a solid punt returner. By year 3, the Rams were really attempting to get Tavon involved in the run game more, and 2015 was the best year of his career, a year which produced a little less than 1,000 offensive yards and 10 total touchdowns. Then, when Sean McVay entered the building in 2017, Tavon's numbers took a huge dip, with career lows in many categories. The Rams moved on from Tavon following the season, and he went on to spend the next 4 years as a 3rd or 4th receiver for 3 different teams. Overall, because of his size and lack of elite ball skills as a pass catcher, Tavon never quite developed into a true number 1 or even a 2, and with only being 175 pounds, he could never shoulder the load out of the backfield. So he was limited to being a gadget guy till his age caught up with him. Also, Jeff Fisher and the carousel of mediocre quarterbacks certainly did not help his development. As of 2022, Tavon was a member of the Bills practice squad before being released in October. Looking to improve upon their already stacked offense with Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, the Texans brought in the sure-handed superstar out of Clemson, DeAndre Hopkins. Drawing comparisons to former All-Pro Roddy White, the 6'1" and slender Hopkins had surefire hands, excellent catch and traffic skills, and knew how to create separation as an outside receiver. The biggest question mark surrounding him was about his average frame and his ability to beat physical NFL corners. Well, right away, It was evident that Hopkins had potential. The Texans were horrible, went through 3 quarterbacks, and fired their coach. And through that, Hopkins solidified himself as the team's number 2 option behind Andre Johnson in the pass game. And he managed to put up the 2nd most yards among rookies, a stat line he would improve upon with a huge jump the following season.
Play. Oh, spectacular catch, DeAndre Hopkins. He has got a knack for making sensational plays.
As Andre Johnson left in free agency, Hopkins quickly took over the team's number 1 receiver role, and he shined. Despite having lackluster quarterbacks like Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, Brock Osweiler, and Tom Savage throwing to him. Then, with Deshaun Watson entering the building in 2017, Hopkins solidified himself as one of the league's best receivers, with 3 straight first-team All-Pro runs. At the very minimum, D-Hop certainly gained the reputation of possibly the best hands in the league. And one of the factors as to why is because his hands are huge. Just listen to this story. After fumbling in a game versus the Eagles in 2020, he tossed his size 4XL gloves for 5XL gloves, then made 3 big catches that led to 10 Cardinal points in a 33-26 win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. The receiver's last catch was the game winner. They were too small, Hopkins said of the gloves that he started the game with. But even more wild than his hand size is the fact that after an All-Pro campaign in 2019, Hop was shockingly traded to Arizona for David Johnson, a running back who hadn't been great in years, and a 2nd-round pick. After Bill O'Brien took over as the GM of the Texans, he made some laughably bad moves. But this was by far the worst. Some went as far as to say that it is the worst trade of all time. And in 2020, Hopkins went on to make his 4th Pro Bowl in a row.
On the sideline for DeAndre Hopkins again. Hopkins hangs on for the touchdown.
Overall, Hopkins is one of the best draft picks from 2013 as a whole. Even though the Cardinals are currently struggling, it's clear that he can still ball. Coming off of a 6-game suspension, he is still near the top of the league in all the main receiving categories on a per-game basis. Formerly known as the top junior college player in the country, Cordarrelle Patterson put on a show at Tennessee with his versatility in both the return game and all over the offense. His greatest strengths were his excellent vision as a ball carrier, along with his game-breaking speed. That speed, along with his size, projected Cordarrelle to a future number 1 receiver in the NFL. The biggest concerns were the fact that he was pretty raw as a prospect, since he only played 1 year of major college ball. Also, there were questions about his hands and route running.
5 yards from the end zone. And he's out across the 20 to the 30. Across midfield, the rookie Cordarrelle Patterson goes for the touchdown.
Throughout his early years, it was clear that Cordarrelle was an elite return man, taking 5 kick returns to the house in his first 4 years. The problem, however, was his lack of offensive production. He never became the team's reliable number 1 target. His best offensive season during his time in Minnesota was his rookie year, which still didn't measure up to the expectations of a first-round receiver. Cordarrelle and the Vikings would part ways following 2016. And from there, he's bounced around the league a bit. 1 year in Oakland, another in New England, where he got a ring, and 2 in Chicago, before finding himself where he is now in Atlanta. And it wasn't until he got to Atlanta before an offense found a suitable role for him. They began lining up Cordarrelle at running back, and 2021 became the most productive offensive season of his career, and helped him earn a place on the NFL Top 100 Players of that year. In 2022, despite an injury, he's currently above 5 yards a carry. Talk about a unique career. For a guy to be a first rounder as a receiver, then shine as a running back nearly a decade after being drafted is wild. But in 2022, Cordarrelle made a far bigger accomplishment. After taking a kick to the house versus Chicago, he officially has the most kick return touchdowns of all time, with 9. And among active players, it's a long shot for anybody to catch up to the mark that Cordarrelle set. Even though things didn't work out for him as a receiver, he's certainly built an excellent NFL legacy. Following the first round from 2013, like any year, there were some hits and plenty of misses. In the second round, 3 dudes were selected. Hunter and Dobson both never materialized, and Robert Woods eventually developed into a solid player with his second team, the Rams. Overall, Woods managed to pave a reasonably good career to this point, despite never making a Pro Bowl. The third round featured 5 guys selected. Terrence Williams was decent as a second or third option in Dallas for a few years. Marquise Goodwin struggled at first, eventually having a solid season in 2017 with the Niners, but overall never quite developed into a full-time reliable starter. Side note, he did become a pretty awesome track and field athlete, making the Olympic roster back in 2012. Marcus Wheaton never materialized. Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin's former college teammate that joined him in the pros, never developed into a starter, and in 2015, he survived gunshot wounds to the head. Luckily, he was able to recover, but he never played in an NFL game after that. And lastly, for the third round, Keenan Allen was the biggest gem of this entire class. As a member of the Chargers since he was drafted, Allen managed to lead all rookies in yards, and is currently sitting on a 5 Pro Bowl career that has him inching closer to 10,000 career yards. After the third round, it's usually a crapshoot. Most of these guys will end up being special teamers or backups at best. And out of the 17 guys that were selected in rounds 4 through 7, only 4 ever became a starter for at least a season. And ultimately, the only hit from these later rounds was Kenny Stills. Stills served as a deep ball threat for the Saints and Dolphins, managing to accumulate 38 career touchdowns in 9 seasons. He ranks 3rd among this class in touchdowns and 4th in yards. Now, as a whole, this receiver class isn't too bad, but then when you add tight ends to the mix, it really takes this class of pass catchers to the next level. 2013 produced 4 Pro Bowl level tight ends, Tyler Eifert and Jordan Reed, who both made 1 apiece. Zach Ertz, a 3-time Pro Bowler who was an integral part of that Super Bowl winning Eagles squad, and of course, the best of all of them, Travis Kelce.
Just 1 catch shy of Otis Taylor. Here is Kelce. Still going. Kelce. Good night.